I'm going to end by talking about a recent book chapter that I published with Mandy Matthewson. And we're going to look at the behaviors that alienating parents use to damage the relationship with their child and the other parent. And in the psychological bulletin paper I mentioned earlier that I published with Edward Kruk, we outline all of the behaviors. And I can share that article with you if you're interested. And we mapped it on to child abuse and intimate partner violence categories. But for here, I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to simplify it and make it very simple for you. So this is a power and control wheel that may be familiar to some of you. It's used widely in the treatment of intimate terrorism. And so we adapted this wheel to understand the behaviors of alienating parents. And we made it gender neutral because this original wheel was designed with the perpetrator as male in mind. But with parental alienation, perpetrators are both men and women. They're equally likely to be perpetrators. And so we adapted this, we changed it, and we use these categories. They're not distinct, they overlap a lot, but I think it's a useful framework to understand what these parents are doing. And in the original wheel, we see here intimidation, coercion, and threats. We've altered this a little bit in our wheel. We have emotional abuse, isolation, using the children, using privilege, and economic abuse. And we added physical and sexual abuse. So excuse my graphic design skills. I'm not great with that. But you can see here an adapted wheel that we are using for these behaviors. And before I go over these, I want to emphasize that if a parent does one or a few of these behaviors, this does not make them an alienator. It's the consistent use of these behaviors and patterns of behaviors over time with the intent to harm the other parent that makes them parental alienating behaviors. Okay, so we're looking for clusters of behaviors over time with the intent to harm. So emotional abuse is the first category I will describe. It involves verbal aggression and emotional manipulation. And the aim of the emotionally abusive person is to humiliate, belittle, shame, and diminish self-worth. So here we see alienating parents saying horrible things about the targeted parent to make the child and others hate them. They will try to depict them as unsafe or unfit. And this form of abuse also includes verbal attacks of the targeted parent, often in front of the child. Alienating parents will use gaslighting techniques, which is when you present false information with the intent to make the person doubt their memories or their beliefs. Alienating parents are very good at distorting facts. They're very manipulative. And so they can take an innocent interaction and make it look very dangerous. For example, a targeted parent might engage in a tickling game with their child, and that is reinterpreted as sexual abuse. These mind games are very effective at damaging the child's love and respect for the targeted parent and turning others against the targeted parent. And over time, the child is brainwashed. And the parent will also do things to minimize the role of the targeted parent. They will tell the child to call them by their first name. They will change their last name. They will try to erase any significance of the targeted parent. Coercion includes a lot of different tactics designed to minimize the power of the victim and to control their behavior. Alienating parents are primarily motivated to maintain absolute control over those close to them. And so loyalty-inducing behaviors and the manipulation of others are used a lot to accomplish this goal. Alienating parents will indoctrinate an absolute belief system, and they will reinforce these beliefs with the child. They will discredit any view that's different than the one they have about the targeted parent. They will discredit any critical thinking skills the child engages in. In order to achieve control, the alienating parent will present themselves as the devoted and consistently stable parent, while at the same time they undermine the relationship between the child and the targeted parent. Complete loyalty is demanded from the child, and if the child does not adopt the alienating parent's belief system and demand unwavering allegiance, the child is punished or rejected. So the alienating parent will withdraw love and affection, belittle or shame the child, even physically punish the child, and reject them if they decide to have a relationship with the targeted parent. The child is coerced into an impossible position, and they have to comply or else they risk losing the relationship with the alienating parent, which in their mind is now the only relationship they have left. The alienating parent will also treat the child as an equal, giving them an unhealthy sense of power for their age, or treat them as a child younger than their own age to promote dependency. They will also block access to the child or lie and manipulate others on their behalf to harm the targeted parent.